Welcome, everybody, and today I'm talking with one of the founding members who joined my Accent Feedback Club back when I first started it. And even though she was joining from Egypt, where the time difference made it a real challenge, she was diligent, and so she made a lot of progress. Today, she's back to share behind the scenes with you what it's like being a voice actor or a voice artist, and how to get started in voiceover work, even if that's something you've never considered until now. And not only that, but we have some great recommendations for software and hardware if you're an English teacher online or getting started with podcasting or making videos on YouTube. Now, let's get on with the show. I'm Bianca, your personal American accent coach, and I'm here to help you master an American accent in English because your voice is your choice when it comes to how you sound. I try to release a podcast episode every 2 weeks. And so you should really subscribe to whatever podcast platform you use so that you don't miss the newest episode. And by the way, if you want to see the full video of the episode, it's available at Accent Coach Bianca on YouTube. Welcome, everybody. I'm super excited today to talk to an old friend who's been with me for years. Hala, say hi and just give us a wave. Hey, for people who are watching this on video, if you're listening to the podcast only, you're not going to see her waving. And the reason we're saying to do that is because she's a professional voiceover artist or voice artist, and she's got a really great microphone. But when we see her in a minute, it's going to kind of blur her face or obscure her face. So that's actually what we're talking about today. We're talking about voice acting. We're talking about voiceover artistry, the difference between the two, and how that's kind of related to languages and accents. So how about you introduce yourself to everybody? Because I know you really, really well, but say hello and tell people kind of like where you're living right now.
Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is me, Hala Warda. I am an Egyptian trilingual voiceover artist. I perform voiceover in 3 languages. First, my mother language in Arabic and English and Spanish. So I'm based here in Cairo. I've been in this field for about 7 years now. My actual work began in 2019, maybe 2019, 2018. So I do a lot of work, but most of my work is concentrated in the narration content, corporate narrations, documentaries, IVRs, interactive voice response, like the messages you listen to when you're calling maybe a hotel or something, a clinic. Also, I'm one of the official voices for Etisalat, one of the biggest telecompanies here in Egypt. I've been working with them for 4 years now. So, yeah.
Wow. That's a lot. Yeah. So I've visited Egypt a few times before I met you, so we couldn't hang out at the time.
Yeah.
But I've visited Egypt a few times, and I remember the name of that company. I think I had to buy a SIM card or something. And so I remember that. And when you joined our feedback club, like literally years ago, this was a long time ago, I believe you were one of the founding members when I first started the feedback club. And everyone was so excited, if you remember.
This application called Clubhouse. We were on Clubhouse. First,
Oh my God. I haven't thought about Clubhouse in so long. And that is so true. At first, we started on Clubhouse like literally years ago. And then, of course, Clubhouse kind of became something different than I think what people wanted.
Yeah.
And now our community is over on Discord. And even though the time difference was vast for you, you would still show up. I think for you it was the middle of the night. And we've always gotten to hear your progression, at least in English, and how you've embodied these different voices. Because we'll talk about this later, but how the commercial stuff is very different than like narration. You mentioned the other thing, when you call this hotel, you might get this voice recording kind of thing. They're different voices. They have very different sound qualities to them. And you're the only voiceover artist that we had in the club. And everyone was always so impressed about that too. And the fact that you do it in 3 different languages has always been an inspiration, I think, to a lot of people. Yeah. And then what happened? And then you went and had a baby. I couldn't believe it. No, I'm just kidding. Congratulations. But then you didn't have time for us anymore. So then you left our club, but we still kept in touch, obviously. We'll talk about the baby later, but I'm thinking actually, now that you have a baby, how do you feel about the 3 different languages? Like if you can compare your experience in Arabic and English and Spanish as well, and maybe now how it is having a baby. Can we talk about that real quick before we talk about voice acting? Because I feel like it's the heart of language is what we're talking about, and then the voice acting. So how do you feel about the 3 different languages? Do you compare them at all? What are you teaching the baby, for example?
Okay, let's start with Spanish because it's the least used language for me. Because most of the work here in Egypt, they require English voiceovers more than Spanish. A little bit of projects require the Spanish language because it's not very famous. So I did like 5 or 6 projects since I started as a voiceover artist. I did those projects in Spanish.
Uh-huh.
So it's not used commonly here in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Arabic, I did just like most of the genres and voiceover, commercials, narrations, different type of narrations like corporate narrations, documentaries, e-learnings as well. I did also dubbings, but this was since I began. As I said at the beginning, most of my work is depending on the narrations, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
corporate narrations and so on.
Mm-hmm.
I did also storytelling for kids. It was very
Ooh.
fun. Also, most of my work is IVRs. I did a lot of
Mm.
IVRs throughout my journey in voiceover field for institutions here in Egypt and Dubai and in America and all over the world, I think. So yeah, that's what I do.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Two things. Can you explain again what IVR is? And then I want to ask you a little bit more about like language.
Okay, so IVR is the abbreviation of the word interactive voice response. So when you're calling a clinic or like a telecom company, there is an automated voice responding you. For
Mhm.
Arabic, press 1. For English, press 2. Hello, and thank
Ah,
you for calling blah 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 company.
uh-huh.
If you want to talk to one of our representatives, please press 0, for example.
Ah, I
This is the
see.
interactive voice response.
Ah,
Mhm.
okay. I think we've all experienced it. We just didn't know the name of it. So that's IVR. For you,
Yeah.
I thought, is this a medical term? Like, what's IVR? And I just didn't know it, right? So I'm sure in the field there's tons of abbreviations and like
Mhm.
shortcuts for those. So for those of us who don't work
Yeah.
in the field, IVR is when you get that experience. And awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious about when you're thinking about or working in or just doing life stuff in English, Spanish, Arabic, what do you notice about the differences of the language? For example, oh, this feels this way, or I notice the length of the syllables or the vowels. Do you have any kind of insights about how, when you change language, there's other kind of mechanics or feelings that need to change there?
Yeah, exactly. So the main thing you notice between the 3 languages is the difference between the tone of voice, the tone of every word you say. So every language has like I can say a music, different music from
Mm,
from the other language. So when I'm talking in English, I have to like stretch some words and make some vocal fries at the end, you know?
uh-huh.
So yeah, in Spanish you can like have different sound. You have to change. Maybe your voice is changing as well. You
Mm,
notice
mhm.
your voice is changing from a language to another. And I really can't notice this in Arabic because it's my daily language. So
Mhm.
I cannot notice this because
Yes,
it's
you
my
it's
mother language, you know? I notice it
mhm.
when I'm speaking another language.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people, you can notice vowels, you can talk about tongue position and things like that, but there's other things in the sphere of voice that are really hard to put your finger on. And I remember when you used to come to Feedback Club, you would literally perform because you'd be practicing some of these scripts, right?
Hmm.
And we'd be like, wait, Hala's gonna perform. Wait, everybody wait. Listen to how she changes her voice. And it was like flipping a switch. And that's what we call code switching. And there's so
Hmm.
much that goes into that that's hard to kind of measure, right? Like, oh, this person has a head voice or a chest voice, or it's in their throat, and how much resonance are
Yeah,
they giving, how
exactly.
breathy they are. It's just so
Hmm.
complicated, you know?
Exactly. Do you remember when you were telling us about the placement of the
Ah,
language?
yeah.
So when you're talking, maybe when you're reading a specific script, you can
Hmm.
use a head voice. When you're reading another script, you can use the chest voice. So it differs from a performance to another, you know?
Yeah. And for you too, it might be so you have a client, maybe it's a corporate client, and they have an audience, and their
Hmm.
audience might be expecting a certain kind of voice that you would have to
Exactly.
embody as well. So many considerations, I think, there too. And now that you're a mom,
Yeah.
what are you speaking to the baby in English as well? Do you ever throw some Spanish in there? Like, what's your
Well,
language at home?
No, I use only Arabic
Mm.
because I see that the first 3 years of the baby is very important to know his mother language very well and speak it
Mm.
very well, to not be confused with another
Mm.
language. When I speak English and Arabic together, it will be
Hmm.
confusing for a little baby. So I'm just using in Arabic, the Arabic alphabets. We started learning like small words with the alphabets.
Yeah.
So maybe later on when he's in the kindergarten, I can teach him English. Why not?
Hmm. Hmm.
But but
Definitely. Yeah.
but he shall learn his mother language first, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's different ways that I don't have children that I've heard, different possibilities for raising them. And one is, as you said, like really concentrate on one and then move
Sure,
on to another. And this is,
sure,
from what I've read, very important, especially in reading. It's funny that you mentioned the alphabet because as well as somebody reads in whatever their first language is, they can
sure.
never go past that in language two, language three. So it's really important to have a really good reading ability or reading skills in your first language because that dictates how well you can read in any other language. You know what I
Exactly,
mean?
exactly.
Yeah. So
Because
super, super
also,
interesting.
Arabic is a very difficult language to learn. So when he learns every alphabet, like those alphabets are not in the other language, like the alphabet Dod, Qaf,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, uh, Kha,
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
will help him very well in learning easily the other languages, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because
Like
this
for
is
example.
very difficult. Yeah, this is the
Mm-hmm.
difficult one, and then we can learn another languages very easy later on.
For example, yeah, exactly. In English, we have that th sound, and most
Sure.
languages, people in most languages, if they have a first language that's different, they come to, for example, me, and for most people, that th sound, boy, that's so hard for them. But coming from Arabic, you're like, oh
Sure.
yeah, no problem, we've got that,
We have, yeah. It's very
And these,
difficult, as I
and imagine in English the ng sound, right? A lot of people
Mhm.
find that difficult. But then in
Sure.
Arabic, you have stuff that's even further back in the mouth, I believe, like ain and rein, and you have all these sounds that
Ayn.
are like
Sure.
for us really difficult. So if you can master
Yeah.
Arabic, then
Sure.
you can kind of master a lot of other things, I think, in terms of
Yeah.
pronunciation, totally,
Exactly.
totally awesome.
Exactly.
So so yeah, talking a little bit about language first and comparing them. But before we get into actual voice acting and you talking about your experience with that, let's tell everybody out there that since it's been a while, we haven't seen each other. If you're a little bit rusty, we said, hey, you used to come to Feedback Club all the time. Let's take this podcast episode as an opportunity to give you a little bit of feedback. So if you make mistakes, everybody out there be prepared. Hala said I can interrupt her and I can tell her if she's making a mistake. So we're going to kind of like demonstrate how that is too and how that feels. And remember, she's being recorded too, so it puts on the pressure a little bit, but we wanted to show you guys what that's like. And even more exciting, later, we're going to actually demo what it's like to do a commercial piece. Let's say there's a script that we have. It's a cold read, we call it. You've never seen it before, and you're not going to see it until we actually do it live for the first
We're gonna
time.
read it live. Yeah.
Exactly. And you're going to get
Okay.
feedback. We're going to hear any little things that we can maybe use to improve. So what is that like? This is going to be super exciting. But first, tell us the history. You started a little bit before about when you got into voice acting first. I bet you've got a lot more to tell us about that. So tell us about your story with voice acting.
So my story began when I was at the last year in the college. We were doing like a student activity for the students to practice more Spanish through the dubbing movies. So I joined this team and it was really fun, and we did the first movie was Maleficent. You know it?
Ooh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'm like super
Yeah.
into the movie Wicked right now. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen that yet, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
do
I
like
saw your posts. Yeah, I saw it on
I'm doing
Instagram.
like 4 videos on YouTube about Wicked. It's like stuck in my head all the time. So similarly, right? So here we
I
are.
love those fantasy films as well.
Oh, totally. And I love
I love.
musicals too.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. For people who don't know, the reason you speak Spanish is because I think you were majoring it in university, right? That's how all this came
Yeah,
about.
that
Actually, it was in
was.
Spanish.
Yeah. I was the Spanish department. I was studying Spanish philology. My
Hmm.
main language was Spanish, and my second language was German. But
Oh
I
my God.
I don't speak German, by the way. Very
Only a
hard.
little at the time, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of this, your current career, all of this actually came out of Spanish originally. I had no idea.
Exactly.
How funny. How funny. Okay. So you're in Spanish.
Exactly.
This teacher has this great activity for dubbing the
Sure.
movie Maleficent. And then what happened?
And then we gave every student a role in this movie to dub. So they chose me to be the main character, Maleficent, as my voice is like deep and loud and so on. So you can do this scenes when she's like making
A scene,
magic and
basically.
so on.
Uh-huh.
So I did this without any experience in dubbing. It was from myself. So after finishing the film, it was really, really nice, and all the students were doing a great job, and it was great at that time. So after graduation, I was thinking after graduation to be a freelancer. I didn't want to work as an ordinary person, so work for in a Spanish company and so on. So I was thinking with myself, why not to be a freelancer? It's more like you can use your talent, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
You can use your talent. So I searched for voiceover and radio courses. I attended like 3 courses at that time after graduation immediately, and discovered that the voiceover industry is very wide and it has a lot of things to do. And it was really fun and I like it so much. And then I started to make samples. I didn't have at that time a microphone or anything related to voiceover. So I was booking professional studios to just record my samples and use them and pay-to-play websites. So pay-to-play websites are websites for voiceover. You can pay for this website and get auditions to do more work and so on. So yeah, I remained about 2 years without work. I was just discovering this field. I was discovering what is voiceover and what can I do to get a job and get a project and people know my voice and so on.
Yeah.
So it required a lot of work at the beginning. And then I did my very first project in 2018. It was an IVR project. And then
big sigh.
yeah.
And then actually, let me pause you there while we're stopped. Let me pause you there. Remember, we said I'm gonna interrupt you, right? But I wanted to wait till you were done with a good flow. So this is for everybody out there too, because Hala's a bit rusty, right? And so here I am. I'm asking something of her to come, please, like tell us more about voice acting. I think people would find it really interesting, and she's agreed to come here too. So I thought, hey, let's make this another opportunity because I know it's been a while. So I want you to think about, Hala, not to make you nervous, but think about the verbs in the past, right? I think you said thinked once instead of thought, but then you changed it and you said, I was thinking. But then there's another thing there, this like co-location. I think you said something like, I think for myself, but it should be, I think to myself. I thought to myself, hey, this is what I should do. Thought to myself, right? And then there's one other thing, since we're paused, I want to tell you that, for example, we're recording this in what month? What month is it right now?
We're in January.
Yes, in January. I'm going for that j sound, right? And I think when you said graduation, you said something more like as in chocolate. Graduation. Yeah, exactly. So watch that j sound. And so, yeah, I just want to put that out there since we said we were going to do that for everybody. Now, deep breath. Then what happens? We're like around 2018. You're looking at the pay-to-play websites. You're booking studios to kind of like build your craft,
make samples and so on.
Make samples. Yeah. And then what?
And then I started practicing, as I said, doing more samples, doing English samples, doing different genres in Arabic samples, discovering myself. But I didn't have this mentality of marketing. I didn't know how to market myself. I didn't know how to promote my samples so the clients can hear my voice and choose me to make a project and so on. So after a while, I heard about an international platform that was about to launch here in Egypt, and it's called Gravy for the Brain. So
I remember that.
Yeah, I told you about it.
Tell everybody else about it. It still exists, right? Gravy for the Brain.
Yeah, it exists.
Okay.
And
what is
I'm
it?
a member. I'm a member in this platform since 2020, since the launching of this platform. It's a complete platform. You have everything you need if you want to start your business in voiceover. If you want to craft your way to be a professional voiceover artist. You have mentors from all over the world. You have great mentors from here in Egypt to like guide you, start your way in a professional way. So I learned a lot from this platform, and since that time I started to do projects, and I built my career in a professional way, you know?
Hmm. This is really
So
helpful for
yeah,
anybody who's thinking about getting into voice acting. Like you're giving them shortcuts, right? You're saying, hey, there's these pay to play websites. You can rent a studio. You don't need equipment. There's this other one, Gravy for the Brain. We're going to put that in the show notes too. We're going to put these websites
sure.
down there as well. So for
Hmm.
anybody who's thinking about doing this too, because I feel like people who learn English as a second language, they feel very limited. They think, "Oh, I can't do that. That's huge, right? I can't possibly, but you make it clear that sure you can. Like absolutely you can.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah,
You have
very
mentors
inspirational.
from UK, from Canada, from Egypt. Maybe you can find mentors from Mexico, from all over the world, because Grave for the Brain have a lot of branches around the world. So you can find all those mentors and learn. You can practice any language you want and get the
Uh-huh.
feedback from those great mentors. So,
Ah.
and after that time, I started to search for professional equipments to record in home, because at that time I had to record projects. I was hired for projects through pay to play websites
Mm.
and through recommendations from friends. Maybe I had to like get my own equipment to record at home, you know,
Yeah,
because like
absolutely.
booking a professional studio is something,
It
you
sounds
require a lot of money.
expensive. It sounds
Yeah, so
time
yeah,
consuming.
sure,
Like,
sure, sure.
yeah, yeah. And of course, we're going to talk more about equipment later, but like
Hmm.
in terms of your growth as a professional, I did the same thing, right? You start messy, you start how you can, start before
Hmm.
you're ready, I think is a,
I
a
was
really good
recording with
way.
my mobile phone at the beginning,
Exactly.
and it's not professional
Exactly.
at all.
No, but the better you get, the more you say, okay, I got to get more legit. Like I want to level up my performance, oh, this microphone's going to make me sound better and things like
Sure.
that. So yeah, so that's part of your like experience and your growth. And
Yeah, upgrading is very important.
I
Hmm.
wanted to ask you, would you feel comfortable talking about, since we're talking about voice acting in general, what about AI now? Do you feel like AI is taking away jobs? Do you feel like it's always going to need a human touch? Like, what's your thought about this? I know it's early days, but still.
Yeah. Well, the AI is not so strong here in Egypt, so we
Mm.
have a chance. We have a chance as Arabic voiceovers to pop up, you know. But
Uh-huh.
as I always say, AI will not be a human. We made
Mm.
the AI, but the AI will not make a real human being. Even if the clone voice is similar to those emotions and those deliveries a client requires, but it's not,
There's
the
just
feeling
something
of
missing.
the
Yeah.
feeling of a human being
Uh-huh.
talking in a microphone. So
Yeah.
it will never be compared. That's
Exactly.
my point of view.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, but I feel like not good enough, for some things.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to be about the client too and how good the client wants a product. I
Hmm.
imagine human voiceovers or voice artistry is going to maybe be at a premium, right? Because maybe there'll be a point where this
Sure.
AI is available, it's not as good. Maybe it's cheaper though, so some clients will do that, but the clients who want really good stuff, I think they're going to be
Sure.
coming back to humans. Yeah, so
Yeah.
hopefully that's
That's
actually
very
the way it's
true.
going to go. So
Hmm.
that being said, we're talking about like voice acting in general. So maybe you can tell us the difference between voice acting and voice overs, because a lot of us might get those confused or use those terms interchangeably when maybe they're not. What can you tell us is the difference, and can you kind of tell us your experience in both?
Okay, so we can say that the voice acting, it involves performing a character or role, often requiring acting and emotioning like sadness, happy, anger, and so on. It's usually used in storytelling,
Mhm.
animations like cartoons and so on, video games, radio
Mhm.
dramas, for
Mhm.
example. But the voiceover is using your voice to deliver on social media, on the media in general.
Ah,
Like
okay.
commercials, you can deliver commercials, narrations, different
Mhm.
narrations like corporate and documentaries,
Mm.
IVRs, as I said, e-learnings as well.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
it doesn't require this performance you do while doing a character. You don't
Yeah.
need to be, I will not say change your voice, but change your
Mhm.
performance,
Mm,
your
mhm.
delivery. This is the main difference between both.
Uh-huh. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like in general, voice acting is in general, but if you're doing a voice acting piece or job, it seems to me like that's longer, larger, and voiceovers can be often much shorter. I mean, I know you might have like something educational that might be longer in general, but it seems to me that voiceovers, we can say they're gigs, right? They're smaller jobs. Is that right?
It's not exactly, because voiceover
Mhm.
you can do like a TTS project. TTS project is text to speech project. This is a project when you like read words without any emotions
Mm.
to be used later on for a library, for AI library and so on.
Ah,
So
okay.
those projects, TTS projects, is very large. So you can
Uh-huh.
maybe record for a week or so on,
Okay,
or something
okay.
like this, you know?
Yeah, that's building the
Yeah,
library, basically, as you said.
yeah.
Yeah, that's for the
And
learning, so that's a lot.
exactly. On the other hand, you can do a tagline, maybe
Hmm.
one line. This is the whole project, and
That's it.
and this is more
Mhm.
difficult to
Uh-huh,
deliver
because you
one
gotta
line
nail
like
it.
that.
Yes,
Yeah, sure,
exactly, exactly. And often it comes down to like one word and how you say it. And yeah,
exactly.
and if it's a corporate client, maybe like it is that kind of on brand, they're looking
Hmm.
for something very specific. But I find they have a hard time like telling you what they want. I don't know if that's been your experience, but a lot of people that I've worked with, a lot of actors, they'll get feedback and they don't really know what to do with it. The directors or the people who've reviewed it will say, "Oh, do it again, but do it like this." And you're like, "What do you mean by that?"
Oh my God. Yeah, this is the most difficult part as a voiceover artist, the amends of the client.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Well, I need this part to be more enthusiastic. I need
Yeah.
this part to be more like emotional, like,
More
you know?
emotional. And you're like, what am I
Yeah,
supposed to do with that? Yeah.
sure. This is very difficult. And you make like 10 versions of the same line, and
Yeah.
the client don't choose any one of them. So this is very challenging.
Right. And you're like, dude, I don't know what's in your head. Like, I don't know what you're
Exactly.
thinking. And yet they can't really express themselves or what they want. So you're taking these stabs in the dark. You're going to throw out a whole bunch of things, hoping that one of them is actually what they want. And even then, maybe not. Yeah. Which I feel is interesting because, like, if we can say, like, the literacy of language of voice, you have a big literacy of the language and voice. And you would think that they do too. But I've heard this from so many people. It's the amends, it's the
Sure,
reviews, it's the feedback that, you want to give them what they want, but you don't always know what
sure,
they want. Yes, I've
sure.
I've noticed that from a lot of people.
This
You know.
point takes us back to AI. So when you're doing a project with the AI, if you want some amends, the AI will not understand what you want exactly,
Right.
you know?
Even worse.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
that's the
Uh-huh.
point of there is no comparison between the AI and the human voice to
Oh,
talk about.
totally. Yeah, I mean, and we're still kind of at the beginning of all this AI stuff, I feel like, just in the past few years or so. So I think we quickly saw how when AI started, we realized like, oh wait, I have to be better at prompting the AI, right? I have to be better at telling it what I want, then I'm gonna get a better result. But we see that like humans are still not really good at that, telling other humans what they want. So of course their results
Yeah,
are not going to be what they want.
exactly.
So
Maybe the
funny,
AI
so
can
funny.
can help you, can provide you with different scripts, maybe different ideas to
Hmm.
to practice and
Yeah.
so on.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can use
yeah.
it in this part very
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Even I found that it's getting better at like intonation, things like that. It's
sure,
getting better at
correcting you
that.
and so on. Yeah,
Uh-huh, uh-huh. The information it has, like you said, brainstorming, scripting, things like that, it's really good
exactly.
at. But that was a part I never considered is how, like, when you want to amend what they've done, they are not very good at that yet, right? Because they just haven't learned enough of that. Or maybe we are also not as good as expressing it towards them. So yeah,
Exactly,
I guess it
exactly.
comes down to communication.
Yeah,
We're all getting
exactly.
better at communicating, right? And part of that is language, right? So in
Exactly.
your voice acting and your voice over, what other kind of experiences have you had? You talked about kind of corporate clients and narration. Can you tell us about the different types of voiceover stuff that you do? We talked about IVR. So, what are some other
Yeah.
things that you do?
Well, e-learnings is very common. E-learnings,
Hmm.
like you want to record a course for children or students, maybe.
Uh-huh.
So this is e-learning projects. Announcements,
Okay.
maybe
Hmm.
airport announcements. This is
Mm.
also a voiceover genre. Ladies and gentlemen, please
Uh-huh.
take seats This is an announcement.
Right.
Corporate narrations for companies, institutions, and so on.
When you say corporate narrations, like for example, for some of us who might not know, are we talking about commercials or are we talking about something else, like for a website or something?
Yeah, for a website, maybe for a company. It's a new company launching after a while, so we're doing like a promo for this company. So this is a corporate narration.
Okay.
And for institution, what this institution provides and what it talks about. So this is corporate narration. Documentaries, we all know the documentaries about, yeah, like the National Geographic documentaries about animals and historic stories and so on. The ADR, this is a rare genre in voiceover, automated dialogue replace.
Automated dialogue replacement, exactly.
Yeah,
So let's start back from there.
I remember. So ADRs are another genre in voiceover. So it's automated dialogue replace. So this is when replacement, yeah,
there we go.
Automated voice replacement. So this is when there is a movie in front of you and there is some like mistakes happen to one of the characters in the movie. So it requires to be re-recorded. So he records this part specifically out of the movie and maybe in a studio and then replace it in this part of the movie. So the movie is smoothly and you couldn't notice the difference. You know, so this automated dialogue replace, or maybe there is an amend or a mistake in the script. You have to record it another time and replace it in the same exact part. So that's the meaning of this abbreviation.
You mentioned, for the replacements, for the amendments, you mentioned they're kind of rare. And I think that's because it's very expensive for the companies to do, the film companies, right? They make tiny little mistake. And then this is in post-production, right? They didn't see it or they couldn't fix it. So they'll often say, oh, we'll fix it in ADR, right? But that's quite expensive for them. And they have to do it in such a way, or you guys have to do it in such a way that we don't even notice. So we would probably never even notice when somebody is like trying to match the voice of those things, you know? So these are all different genres of voiceover. Do you just say voiceover or do you say voiceover acting sometimes?
Well, you can do voiceover acting in some commercials. Maybe there are characters in a commercial copy. So you have to change your performance. This is a mother, this is the daughter. So you have to change your performance from a character and another. So this is a voiceover acting.
Now I see. Okay.
But at the end, this is a commercial copy. You know, it's not dubbing or acting in general.
Oh, yeah. And the way you answered the question, at first I thought you didn't understand my question, but you totally did, because I was just using the terms wrong. I was trying to say like, oh, which one do you say? And the way that you answered that question, it's like, oh, actually, that's something else completely, you know? Exactly. So when we use those words together, it actually has a different meaning. And so you have to look at, I guess, what's the purpose of the script? You would have to look at what's happening in the script.
Whether it might be a dialogue
or something background or some kind of instructions that you're giving, right? Yeah, or like a call to action. It's so complicated, like all the different kind of voices you have to develop. And a lot of that comes to like intonation. A lot of it comes to, forget about pronunciation, right? Vowels and consonants and things like that. And then we've got the connected speech and the music of the language, which we said is very different compared to Spanish or Arabic, right? That musicality behind it, the qualities of voice that are really hard to pin down and talk about. But then on top of all that, like you said earlier, there's equipment, there's hardware and software that then goes into this too. So let's talk a little bit about how you get ready for any of these performances, kind of like what equipment you use, maybe why, stuff like that. Because earlier, before we were going to record, I said, oh, you know, when I see something in the shot, can you move that thing? I thought maybe it was a second microphone, but do you remember what you said?
Yeah. It was a balloon. Like you punch it, and it's a toy for my baby. Yeah,
for the baby. Because here we are. We're recording this. You're in the studio. You're in your studio, your home studio, and it's not just your home studio, but it seems to be a bit of a playground for the baby too.
Exactly.
So I thought it was equipment, but it wasn't. It was just a toy. So let's talk about the real equipment. For example, if you're watching the video version of this podcast, you can see that Hala is behind her microphone, and it's a pretty substantial microphone. So maybe you can talk about the parts of the microphone, because I'm guessing that one of your biggest equipment expenses, it's got to be the microphone itself, right?
Exactly. So I started my career with a microphone that was like USB microphone. It's called Rod USB.
I'm
So
using
it
that right
doesn't
now.
require, yeah,
That's the one I'm using right now,
nice,
actually.
nice.
Uh-huh.
But the shape is different from mine. I think
There's
this
different
is,
ones.
yeah,
Exactly. But this is a
this is a
Rode, this is
different
a
version.
USB microphone. Yeah.
I
And
love this
for
microphone, by the way.
me
I
too.
love it. I
Me
did a
too.
lot of work with it. Yeah, I did a lot
Mhm.
of work with it, and it was like hard worker, you know? It was a
Yes.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a workhorse
exactly.
for
Yeah.
sure. Uh-huh. I would say I'm not a voiceover artist, but I think it's great that we have a passion for these Rode microphones.
Yeah,
And but then you
exactly.
moved on. And what did you get after that?
And then I upgraded my microphone to this Sennheiser MK4
Ah.
microphone
Ooh.
because I had to like use this, what its name?
Which one? The circle one in
This,
front of you?
yeah, audio interface. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So another piece of equipment.
Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
forgot the name for a while.
You
So
don't need to know the
this is
names
the
every
audio
day, I'm
interface.
sure.
Yeah.
So can we say, why is that important? You've got this interface. Is that because the Sennheiser microphone isn't a USB microphone? Is that why you need this other thing?
It's not a USB microphone, so you have to connect it with the audio interface and
Hmm.
then connect the audio interface to the laptop or
Right. And
the device you're using.
let me stop you there. So if people are looking to get into this field, they're going to want
Mhm.
to have a USB microphone to start with because it's a simpler setup. You
It's
get
simpler and
great
more
quality
cheaper.
and
Yeah,
cheaper.
it's simpler and more
Definitely.
cheaper and user friendly at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. You can pack it while traveling. You can take it when you're away for anywhere in a vacation or something. You can record in anywhere. You can also
Yeah.
use it in your mobile phone. You can connect it in
Ah,
the yeah.
exactly,
It's very
exactly.
easy.
You need a little
It's very
tiny
easy.
adapter for that, but it's so much easier to find that adapter than the one you need, like an interface. It's got a whole
Exactly.
different plug. And this is something people don't know when they're shopping for microphones. Maybe they are working, they want to
I'm
be
sorry.
voiceover.
Yeah, my
Oh, okay.
baby woke up, so I'm
Okay.
very sorry.
Let's pause. Oh, there he is. He's right next to
Okay, here
us.
he is. Hey.
Hi, little baby. He's so cute. And we were talking about how important it is if you're just starting out that you're thinking about cost, you're thinking about ease of use. There's things you don't know what you don't know. So, number one,
Mhm.
a USB microphone is probably the way you want to go when you're first getting started. Another thing to consider that you don't know about, probably, and that they don't really make it clear, is the difference between a condenser microphone and a dynamic microphone. And I think this is important, not just if you're going to go into voiceover work or voice
Mhm.
artistry, but also like, let's say you're an English teacher. Let's say you want to start making a podcast about something, whether it's in your first language or a second language. These are things that you might not even know that you don't know, right? So can you tell us the
Mhm.
difference between a condenser and a dynamic microphone?
Okay, I'm not gonna say the dive deep in the differences, but
Mm-hmm.
the main difference between them is that the dynamic microphone is used mostly in like parties, like announcements, in a very big place in the theater or,
Ah.
in the
Mm-hmm.
street, like those making interviews in the street. The condenser microphone is more focused in a studio with like those acoustic panels. You have to record in a very quiet place because it's very sensitive, so it gives a really high quality of voice. This is the main difference between both.
And the one you're using right now, your Sennheiser one, is that a condenser or dynamic?
Yeah, it's a condenser microphone.
Yeah, mine too.
Most
Go ahead.
of the voiceovers use condenser microphones because, as I said, the dynamic microphone is mostly used in a crowd, or
Yeah.
it's not sensitive as the condenser one.
Exactly, exactly. So for people out there who are just starting, you're looking for probably a USB condenser microphone, right? So I think that's going to narrow
Exactly.
down, yeah, what you want considerably, considerably. So that's a great way to get people started in terms of like equipment. And what other like equipment have you found for your setup that's like must have?
Okay, so it's very important to have headphones to edit your tracks after recording and listen to yourself while recording. And if there is any noise at the background, you can notice it and re-record the part again. And it's very important, mainly in the sound engineering or the sound editing
Mm.
after finishing your project.
The baby
Sorry.
wants
I'm
to
sorry
give
for
his
the noise. Yeah.
no, it's totally fine. Speaking of,
I'm sorry.
outside noise or things that you might not expect or want,
Yeah.
we have a little bit of baby noise now in the background. That's
Yeah.
fine. And
I
I don't
never
know.
record while he's awake.
Oh, I bet. But every once in a
Yeah,
while,
it's
like I think
impossible.
twice so
It's
far,
impossible.
we're recording and I'm hearing some emergency vehicles go by. And I'm always thinking to myself, did they get picked up or not? Like, did you hear them? And so
Yeah,
that's something that if you have decent headphones, then you can listen to that afterwards, like pretty decent headphones.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
and for me, one thing that I like getting started, let's say, is making sure that your microphone has an audio jack. So at
Hmm.
least, maybe you don't have headphones, but at least you have like an earbud, right, that you can listen to.
Yeah.
So again, coming down to equipment, if you already have that, you don't have to get some kind of interface or extra adapter or something like that. So look for something that's got an audio jack so that you
Hmm.
can easily listen to yourself afterwards. And what I find really helpful, I don't know if this is for you too, but I like the feedback that I get as I'm speaking. I like to hear myself as I'm speaking because I feel
Exactly.
like I can adjust my volume levels and things like that. And that's really
Exactly.
helpful too.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is the main importance of the headphones. It's like
Hmm.
built in so you can hear your voice only. You can hear it
Hmm.
only. You can hear it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
Mhm.
sometimes I take it out and I'm just like, no, it's not the same. So yeah, two pieces of obviously very basic but super important equipment, the microphone, the headphones.
So another point for the headphone, if you have a project that requires specific music, you can listen to the music while recording. So this will improve your
Oh,
performance
nice.
and
Oh,
delivery.
great. Oh,
Yeah,
that's such a
this
good
is
tip.
very important. Usually we listen to music in the professional studios. When I have a project and I record in a professional studio, I listen to the music while recording. This is
Yeah.
completely different. This gives a complete different
Like feeling. Yeah.
inspiration
Uh-huh.
and
Oh, yeah.
emotions and
Oh, I
everything.
bet. Yeah. And
Yeah,
they can't hear it, obviously. It's only you hearing it, but it improves your performance that much more. Oh, I'm
exactly,
sure.
exactly.
Yeah. Besides a microphone, besides headphones, I see we've got this thing that's a big
This pop
circle in front
filter,
of your face.
yeah,
Yeah. What's that called?
this is called a pop filter. So this is used to like absorb the pops and S's, the letter S and P. When you say it with a loud voice, it makes like P. So this absorbs the extra pops and very high,
Yeah,
very loud S sounds and so on. So this is
exactly.
very important as well.
Since you're using a pop filter right now and I'm not, I'm going to demonstrate what it sounds like, right? So
Mhm.
so when we say pop sounds in language terms, we call those stop sounds because we stop the air. And the other one, when you said S sounds, those are what we call
Mhm.
fricatives, right? And sometimes that
Mhm.
friction can be really loud. And then we have a third sound, which we call affricates, which are combinations. It's a stop and then a friction. So I'll give an example. What are some
Okay.
of our stop sounds? We've got P as in party, T as in take, and K as in kick, right? So I got P,
Mhm.
T, K. So on my microphone, you can probably hear a very big burst of air, but can you
Mhm.
say P, T, and K with your pop filter so we can compare? Right? So that air that was exploding, which it's supposed to, we're not hearing so much of the air, it's softened a little bit. So if we do some fricative sounds, we can do like an S sound, shh sound. You make a shh sound too.
Okay. Shh.
There you go. Or s as well.
Okay.
We can really hear the difference, I think, in that one.
Yeah.
When I say like that, there's something about the pitch because they've measured this. And when you do like an S sound, like the force at which the air is hitting what we call the
Mhm.
obstruents, maybe it's the back of your teeth, like it's
Mhm.
hitting the air really hard. Or I should say,
Exactly.
the air is hitting that really hard. And we
Yeah.
perceive that on a certain level. So something you might want, I don't use, is a pop filter. And the reason I don't use a pop filter is because when I'm teaching people how to articulate better, I want them to be able to hear how much air they should put in. I
Exactly.
want them to be
Exactly.
able to hear that, right? So I don't use a pop filter.
The full version of the word.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Because a lot of people that don't realize that these stop sounds, the
Yeah.
p and the t and the k, right? When it's at the beginning, the middle, or the end of the word, there might be more or less air. So controlling that flow of air is actually really important. So I don't want to cut it all out. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah. So we've got a microphone, we've got headset, we've got pop
Okay.
filter. What else would you say is like a non-negotiable piece of equipment? And that could be hardware or software.
Well, the laptop.
For sure. Good one. Good point. Good point.
The laptop before the microphone.
Yeah, what are you going to do with a microphone
Where
without a
shall you
laptop,
get?
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Good point.
And then comes the accessories. You have to have a stand
Oh,
to
yeah.
put
A
your
stand or an
microphone on.
arm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, an
yeah.
arm
Hmm.
to put your microphone on and adjust it.
Oh,
Whenever
God.
you want to record standing or sitting down,
It's indispensable. Number one. Number two, don't skimp on that. I've found that when you get the cheap arms, you can hear the springs, right? They go boing, boing all the time. And then you're like, oh, it's
exactly.
super annoying when you have to do that. So invest in a good arm, I would say. You don't think it matters, but it really does matter. So yeah, laptop, we're not even probably going to go there. There's too many specifications and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So we've already
exactly.
got one, two, three, four, I think five pieces of hardware. Is there any specific software that you would recommend that people get? What would be like your favorite piece of software that even beginners could use?
We can talk about a very user-friendly software, which is very easy and it's actually totally free. And it has too many tutorials to learn from on YouTube. It's called Audacity. It's very nice to use as a beginner, and also any voiceover artist can use it in editing their tracks. And also, I recommend Adobe Audition. It's more advanced in doing your
Oh,
tracks and more
uh-huh.
professional, but you need to like take courses and see tutorials to start using it
Mm-hmm.
in a simple way. And
Mm,
there is also another softwares like Pro Tools. It's
mm,
more advanced and it's more professional. I think those
mm.
three are very common in the
Yeah.
voiceover industry.
Exactly. For sound engineers, like even Audacity, you can use it as a beginner. It's totally free. But
Yeah,
even as a pro, pros use Audacity all the time. And by pros, maybe I don't mean like movie productions, but a lot of people who are very professional just use Audacity. It's quick, it's easy, and it's totally free. And there's tons of tutorials,
yeah.
like you said.
Exactly, because you can edit very, very quick your samples. For example, if
Mhm.
you're doing an audition, a quick audition for a client, you can use Audacity to edit your track because I see that those advanced softwares are mostly used in professional studios when you have a sound engineer with you during the voiceover session. So the sound engineer do the editing, you know? So when you are a one-man show in voiceover field, you have to do all the process by yourself. So you have to know the basic steps to
Mhm.
edit your tracks, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the
Yeah.
basics, right? Yeah. And then you learn your
Hmm.
skills as you grow. So, yeah,
Exactly.
just start by recording yourself. And in fact,
Mhm.
one more thing I want to add to that is Audacity is so simple. It's so easy to use that very often for just pronunciation and accent, I'll recommend it to people too, because it gets them started with becoming at ease with recording their voice. And you can see a
Exactly.
lot on there. You can see if your connected speech is good, right? Once you get used to seeing it, you can see are certain sounds missing? You can see your intonation as well. You can see so many interesting things with this. So it's not just
Exactly.
for people who want to do voiceover, but pretty much anybody who wants to work on their language. Awesome, awesome. So, that being said, we talked a ton about software and hardware there too. I thought maybe we could give people a little demo of what it would be like for
Yeah.
you
Super.
to read a
Mhm.
script, get some feedback from me, what it's like getting the feedback, and so people could really see how you might change your voice, right? Is that okay for you?
Exactly.
Okay,
It's
cool.
okay.
All right, let's give it a shot then. What we're going to do is Hala's going to read it for the first time. We call that a cold read because she hasn't practiced this in advance. She hasn't really thought about, oh, how is it going to sound? And we chose one that it's about luggage. So I think this is interesting for people because
Yeah.
this is from a website that's called voices.com, and you can find tons of scripts on here. So anybody who is looking into getting into this field, they can find lots of practice work on this website. And is it also pay to play? Like if you pay, you
Yeah.
unlock certain things, or is it always free?
Yeah. It's a pay-to-play website.
Awesome, awesome. We're going to now have you read for the first time. We'll do it twice. We're going to have you read for the first time. And what I'm doing behind the scenes is I have an app that I had developed and I use it for correcting pronunciation and things like that and marking up the script. It's called the Phonetic Markup app, and anybody can use it. It's free. I'm going to put the link down in the description for anybody who might want to use this for practicing. And we'll include like how it looks in the end. So, Hala, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, first time through. I'm ready when you are. Go ahead.
Okay. Travel smarter. Odyssey luggage. meticulously crafted for the discerning traveler. Effortless style, unmatched dur- unmatched unmatched durability. Shop online today and embark on your journey with confidence.
So short. That's a 15-second clip. I'm going to have you read it again. And for people who are listening to this, see if you can follow along and see if you can pick out any words that you're like, I'm not sure if that's how I would say it, or I don't know if that's a mistake. So when we have our feedback club, for example, I'm giving people feedback, but if you remember, everybody else is also putting stuff in the chat box too. So everybody's there to help you. And when it's just me and it's so short, it takes me a minute to catch up. So can you read it again this time? And I'm not going to tell you any mistakes yet, but I just want to see if I can catch some more mistakes. Then we'll review them.
Okay, great. Travel smarter. Odyssey luggage, meticulously crafted for the discerning traveler. Effortless style, unmatched durability. Shop online today and embark on your journey with confidence.
Awesome. Thank you. That's second. First thing I want everyone to notice is notice how you kind of turned on your voice, like we said earlier. That's called code switching. And you're like, okay, I'm working now. This is my working voice. What kind of script would you call this? From all the genres that we talked about earlier, what kind of thing is this that you're reading?
This is a commercial copy.
Commercial copy. Okay.
Commercial copy, yeah.
So you have a certain voice for when you're doing commercial copy, right? That's different than other genres. Exactly. Yeah. So people should notice that first.
Yeah, it's a selling tone of voice. Maybe you can say this.
And it's funny too, because you're like, oh yeah, it's a selling tone of voice. It's this kind of thing. And you've practiced it so much that you can just flip that switch and like, wow, hey, there's a commercial. But that takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of awareness. And so for people to just notice it like, wow, that's cool. You can totally change your voice like that at the drop of a hat. That's really interesting, I think, for people to notice is first their overall impression. And we know what that voice sounds like, but we rarely think, what goes into that voice? Like, how do I create that voice and turn it on and off when I want to? So I think that's the first thing that I really noticed and that everyone else, I think, might pick up on. Second thing is when we talk about accent, any accent, we have what we call the 4 Ps. So for anybody who doesn't know, that's number 1, what we call pronunciation, which is vowels and consonants. We're going to talk about any mistakes in a second. Number 2, prosody, which includes things like rhythm, intonation, connected speech, syllable stress, things like that. Then the other 2 Ps, which most of the time we only talk about when somebody's a bit more advanced. The first one is oral posture. So what is your muscle tone like, maybe from language 1 to language 2, how those languages are related and the muscles that you use, right? That's the muscle tone or the oral posture. And then number 4, we always talk about kind of personality or personhood. And in this case, it's like you said, it's the salesman voice, right? It's the selling voice. So that's the personality that you're trying to involve, right? So we're not going to really have any notes on number 3 and 4, your oral posture, because you've practiced so long, but you're a little out of practice, I guess, with me, because I haven't seen you in a while. And then the last one, of course, like you are the expert at these personality voices and turning them on and off. So when I recognize that, you're really good at that. So let's just take a quick look, and then we'll make some corrections. And then we'll have you read it again with the corrections. And I'm just going to share my screen so that everybody can see it as well. So if they're seeing this on YouTube, they can actually see us making these corrections live. And if not, well, I should probably watch YouTube. No, I'm just kidding. So there we go. Can you see the screen now? You're ready to go?
Yeah, I'm
All right, cool. So when I correct people, I make different marks using this app. And sometimes I just mark something in red. And that's when I say, oh, I think this person knows. If I just point it out, I think they can fix it themselves. So if I look at the first 2 words, I can see there's an A that's marked and there's an R that's marked. So say those first 2 words again.
Travel smarter.
Exactly. So I was looking at the A in travel, because before it sounded a little bit like your tongue was in the middle. Travel, perfect. And then the R was kind of missing, which an R after a vowel can be quite difficult. So smarter. Earlier it sounded like smarter. And I was like, where's that R? So we marked that out. Then in the script, there's this company name, right? The name of the luggage. And how are you going to know that? Because when we see names are just difficult. So this one, you wouldn't maybe know how to say it. And also maybe when it's translated to Arabic, maybe it's different. So for example, this is the name of a book that was written a long, long time ago. So I'm going to kind of say it slowly. Odyssey. There you go. Odyssey.
I'm not sure, but I was thinking there's a very famous play which was translated from English to Arabic. So I'm not sure this is the same one or not.
Same one. So for
Same
us,
one.
it's
Okay.
and of course it comes from originally from Greek. So who knows if we're pronouncing it
Yeah.
correctly? For us in English, it's the Iliad and the
Mm-hmm.
Odyssey. The Iliad and the Odyssey.
Okay.
And some people
Okay.
might know the name of the character. His name was Odysseus, right? And so it's not
Mm-hmm.
odd, but it's O. And that's kind of how it sounded. So some people might know that and they might be mixing up the two words, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how would you know? You wouldn't. That's why I'm here, right? So we got that. So the next thing that I wanted to mark and note is a syllable stress thing. And you happen to read this twice. And the first time you got it off, and the second time you actually fixed it. So say these
Traveler.
two words. I'm going to highlight them.
Discerning traveler.
Exactly. So
Okay.
discerning, that's the stress syllable, discerning. And then we saw that ag in traveler, discerning traveler. The first time the
Mm-hmm.
syllable stress didn't really pop out enough for me to say that it was correctly placed. And of course, there was that A there. So now we've got the first two sentences are done. That's half of it, more or less. So can you read
Mm-hmm.
that again with corrections?
Travel smarter. Odyssey luggage. Meticulously crafted for the discerning traveler.
Very nice. And maybe I didn't make myself super clear. It's Odyssey,
Odyssey. Oh,
Odyssey.
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Odyssey.
There we go.
Odyssey
Exactly.
luggage. Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't do, which I normally do, is I normally mark the vowels. And we haven't talked about this, but I know that you know a lot of what we call IPA, which is the international notation for these vowels. And normally I'll write them. So let me just put them in there anyways.
Odyssey.
A, and then E. Odyssey, Odyssey, Odyssey. That way you won't forget.
Odyssey.
And as usual, I'll give you these notes later. But let's look at the next. There's a sentence here with two words. That's it. And you happen to stress the first word, but not the second word. And I'd like to see them both stressed because they're both important. So say this sentence again and really give me both.
Effortless style.
Exactly. Effortless style. Da 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 da. You're stressing both words. Before it sounded like this.
I didn't see the dot, the point.
Maybe that's why. Yeah. So sometimes it's a reading error, and then we say, "Oh, I see how it flows." You know, some scripts are just written better than others. We've seen that. Sometimes they're full of mistakes. We don't know what they really want. Coming back to that same idea. So in this case, let's compare the two. The first time it sounded like this: effortless style. And that would make sense if my sentence were a bit longer, and if I said something like, effortless style is what you're looking for. If I was highlighting that word, in this case, both words are important. They're the only words in the sentence. So I know that makes sense because I heard you say it very well the second time. All the rest of the words were perfect except one thing, and we said it earlier. What month is this again that we're doing?
Journey.
So think of the difference for everybody listening to, like as if French, they say, je m'appelle Bianca, right? If I put a little D in front of that, I got J. So I want to stop it first. Right now we're recording in January. Maybe I'm wearing jeans, right? Juice. I drink juice maybe in the morning. And that sounds just slightly different than right? So the voicing is there, but I want that stop in front of it. So I'm going to have you read the whole thing again. So actually first say the word.
Journey.
Perfect. It really explodes there, right? Okay, now we've got only a couple of mistakes, but it takes a little while to get through it. So let's take that whole thing again, and let's read the script again, top to bottom, and let's see how much better it sounds. Go ahead.
Travel smarter. Odyssey luggage, meticulously crafted for the discerning traveler. Effortless style, unmatched durability. Shop online today and embark on your journey with confidence.
Now this makes me want to buy the luggage, actually, because, you know, I like to travel. You like to travel. I'm like, ooh, luggage. Let's talk about luggage. So this is the thing that we can see how we can very quickly take a script from like meh, mid all the way up to like aces, right? And it can really like shine in just like a couple of minutes, So getting these little tricks, like knowing the for example, not forgetting the R's if you're going for an American accent. Some things, remember, you're not going to know because maybe they're names or they don't quite translate the same, right? Where do I put the stress? Things like that. Some things I can look up. I can look up in the dictionary. Discerning, right? I can look up some of these things, but not everything. So it's really nice to be able to like help you in person and say, even though I know it's been a while, you're doing great. Everything sounds super fantastic. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now for people who are watching this. Okay, we did our demo. Yay. So Hala, tell us a little bit about where we can find you and what you've been up to lately.
Well, most of my work is shared on my Facebook account and on my Facebook page, also on TikTok. But on TikTok, I'm like making fun videos, and like I pick a script from ChatGPT and record it for different performances and deliveries and so on. So my TikTok is not specific for my work.
Yeah, it's more like, it sounds like what you're saying is Facebook is more of like a portfolio, and it sounds like your TikTok is more for fun, right? And for the general audience to kind of like show them what that's like. Is that about right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
On Instagram as well, but not often sharing my work on Instagram. I'm not a big fan of Instagram, so you couldn't find me often on this application. Also, LinkedIn. I share my work every now and then on LinkedIn because it's a professional platform for sharing our work. So yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a good place to get jobs and connect with people too. So we've got LinkedIn kind of for making connections. We've got Facebook for seeing more of your professional work. And then we've got also TikTok too, to kind of see like what it's like and what you're capable of. And I think that's really interesting. So Hala, I want to say it was such a pleasure to talk to you. I haven't seen you in a while. I consider you a good friend from so far away, but you know, I'm thinking about you all the time. And I hope you had a great time too today.
Yeah, I am very happy, and thank you for having me today. And I miss you guys. I miss the feedback club on Discord. But as you know, I'm a perfectionist, so I'm giving most of my time for my baby. So that's the reason I'm not on the track like before. So
yeah, good
I
point.
hope so. Yeah, I hope to be more active the next time, inshallah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have all your work projects and then you have your big project, which is the baby project.
Yeah.
And you got to get that project, you know, up to a certain size so that then you can have, you know, your you time back, I think. So I have no doubt we'll see you back in the club, and everyone who's there will be like, hello, you've been. And so in the meantime, don't forget, you're always invited to come to office hours because, you know, once a club member, always a club member. Let's say for today, we'll say goodbye. We'll say goodbye to the audience. Guys, thanks a lot for coming. See you soon. Bye.
Bye, Bianca.
Poor Hala. It was about 1 a.m. in the morning for her in Egypt when we were recording this. So even though she might not have been at her best, I can tell you her 80% is better than most people's 100%. Wouldn't you agree? So I hope this episode gave you some inspiration and courage to start paying closer attention to your own voice and even record yourself, even if it's just for yourself. If you found this episode helpful in any way, please subscribe and leave a review. It's actually really helpful to me. I'm Bianca, your personal American accent coach, and I want you to know that your voice is your choice. Thanks for listening all the way to the end, everyone. See you in the next episode.